myself. Yeah. I'm feeling myself.
Hey everybody, I'm Cece,
I'm Val.
and we're back again for another whack at this piñata called Loose Ends, which we are now thinking we should rename as the Beaver Bitches. But I don't know, it might be trademarked already. We've had quite a week in the increasing rollout of what appears to have been a tsunami during the halftime show of the Super Bowl just over a week ago. So this will get posted on Monday, so like 2 weeks ago, right? And it keeps happening. Over 80 million have watched on YouTube the Apple production of the entire show, which I will say, Val, and we failed to say this in last week's show, I think it was an entirely different experience if you were in the audience there.
Oh, I believe that too. And the degree of how
it.
high up you were to be able to see it, because I think it was very, very much an aerial show. Like there was a lot of stuff going on that you didn't see, that you could really only see from an aerial view.
If you were there.
So people up higher saw a lot better than the people like say down lower.
Maybe, and I think the people there saw only fractions of it because the show was in the close-ups of Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yes.
And the vitality of the dancers when you're much closer than,
Well, there was so much to the choreography of it. Like you saw how absolutely completely arranged it was as they were going around the circle filming Kendrick and all the other dancers and what they were doing, and it was very important what they were doing at each time.
So one of the things that I have since, so we continued down the rabbit hole.
We did
separately.
Yeah.
I'm always up first in the household, and I'm usually at a different desk than this one. And sitting, and the last 5 days in a row, she wakes up much later, comes down, and I'm watching it again, going, damn, did you know this about it or this about it? Because the intricacies and the layers, which I really appreciate. I appreciate complexities.
Absolutely. And yes, it was a diss to Drake. But that's not all it was. And I don't want everything to get lost in what it actually really was, because 40 Acres and a Mule had fuck all to do with Drake.
It's bigger than the music.
It's bigger than the music. Like there was a clear message there. It wasn't just a message about Drake. Drake is, to me, the problem of one of the problems of this world. And this, I have become less and less interested in the whole Hollywood aspect and the musical aspect of the world, because there are so many artists out there that are just made. They're not
created by the industry.
In the States, they were Disney kids. And here, it was Drake. Drake was our Canadian version of a Disney kid. Started on Degrassi High, started probably way, sooner than that because of his parents' influence in that business itself. So, he's a made kid. He was a made kid and he grew up to be a made adult.
And he was pretty privileged. He didn't have the background.
Privileged.
So part of this whole Drake thing, for those of us who didn't know these kinds of things, because it wasn't in on my radar screen of life, but the East and West Coast hip hop scene are quite different and have had long-standing feuds, and part of the whole rap culture is the process of insulting your opponents, your competitors.
Well, we learned that in 8 Mile, right?
Yes, way back when.
Yeah.
And so that last scene of 8 Mile always just floored me.
Right.
I watched that 100 times too. I still don't know how anybody can do that.
That
but
fast
anyway,
on the ball.
What happened was that Drake started getting, in layman's terms, a little too big for his britches back in 2013.
Yeah.
And a lot started brewing then in behind the scenes stuff with producers. Free and whoever was producing Drake at the time, and I forget who that was. So Taylor Swift got involved in terms of just, hey, do you want to collaborate? And then Drake dissed her even after they had done something. And, it was like, what's going on here? And then Kendrick comes along and goes, hey, man, this ain't cool. And you're not, you're kind of inauthentic, which I think is what you're saying.
Well, that's right, because that whole situation actually started with
Compton.
Beyonce.
You're not black.
Beyonce released a certain type of album, and Drake turned around and tried to do the exact same thing, and that's what the whole industry went, what the fuck, dude? Yeah. What'd you do that for? Like, you're jumping on another black person?
And dropped it a month before she dropped hers.
Right.
Which you just don't do to someone like Beyonce. You just don't. Especially when
I don't think you do it to anybody.
Some of her tracks and are aware of her forthcoming album. Choose to kind of go with the same genre. I think it was dance tracks or
whatever,
something.
yeah.
And drop one a month earlier. So anyway, the point is...
That was my point, is that Drake is made, and when you're made, you become like Diddy and all of them, that are part of the problem, because they just believe that they can walk over people, do whatever they want to people, because some people want to be famous that bad. Yes, some people do, but I innately believe that most of the world is good. I really do. I believe that. And I believe that most people don't want to hurt other people.
In years past, I would have looked at you and said, I believe that too. I had to hesitate there. And I want to believe that. I still want to believe that. The optimist in me wants to
believe it about the Republicans, though. Like, I don't believe as a group, they're all bad, Like, I think there's some real fucking rotten apples. Oh, absolutely. But there's some fucking rotten apples in the Democrats, in the liberal parties. Like, it's it's sort of like, you got to look at it sort of like the yin-yang symbol, right? There's a little bit here, a little bit there. And just sort of work with that. And I think you can find common ground with the Republicans, because, like, some of them haven't really seen what's actually going to happen. And unfortunately, bad things are going to have to happen to them. And
here we go. How do we go to Trump?
Well, but I'm just...
Okay, so time out.
Yeah.
I have a story to tell that kind of leans that way. So this morning, as Val knows, it is a Tuesday. So this is, when you see this will be posted next Monday, 6 days ago. I unfortunately need to have an implant in my mouth, and it's not probably
not their brain.
Yeah, no, we hope not. It's not the most pleasant kind of thing to enter into, especially I've had some crown work done recently that hasn't been the most painless. And so I went and I had this amazing experience with this doctor, also the staff. Everybody was really nice. It was just a consult and there was no pain involved with the process itself and the people involved. You can tell a lot about the character of the people, right? Yes. Okay, so this guy is a specialist. He's got the big machine that does special x-rays for 200,000 and he does, and he's done 20,000 of these operations, as he told me, as I asked him how long you've been doing this, because I need to know. And at 24 years and 20,000 of these implants later, he is unconsciously competent. What I found interesting was that we somehow, this is a guy I'm meeting for the first time who's got x-rays up on my wall, showing me my mouth going, well, and this is the tooth we're going to attack, and here's what you need to do, and how we got onto Trump.
I tell you, it's easy now. It's easy. Got a toothache? Oh my God! Can you believe the big toothache that Trump is? You can relate anything.
They're going to need an implant down there. Anyway, the point is that we ended up having this conversation. Now, this is a bright, educated, well-educated man who also I happen to be in the office, the guitar room. I was in the rock and roll room.
Was he a supporter?
What?
Was he a supporter?
What do you mean
a Trump supporter?
No, I'll get to that. But so the environment is such that I'm looking at what I think is going to enter after I've been prepped by Sarah, who was amazing. Okay. 24 years old and has to have lived 1,000 times. She is an old soul. I want my son to meet her. It was like one of those. Yeah. It won't happen, but still, I can dream. He comes in, here are all these guitars. I know he plays the guitar, but after I've had 45 minutes with her, how we get on Trump, and he pulls up on his phone right away. a picture of him and his son who went to some, I don't know what it was, but he had a Trump hat on, MAGA hat. So did his son. But they had a Mexican shirt on. And he said, this is a political statement. He goes, yeah, people look at me. He goes, you want to tell how racist people can be? Wear one of these hats. Just to see. He goes, I'm not a Trump supporter. He goes, do I support everything on the radical left? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's gone too far. And he even went on to say, I'm not going to say his name because, you know, I am quoting him here. He goes, look, I got, and he's in jeans, okay? And he goes, look, I got a fancy belt on. And he lifts his shirt up. He goes, yeah, I like fancy belts. I like fancy shoes. He goes, I'm going to call myself a trans lesbian or something like that. And he goes, and I demand respect. Like that. And I'm like, I didn't even know how to take this, right? People are thinking about this stuff. But anyway, the point is, because I have gotten off track, it made me think, because my first thought when he first said it was, you ain't putting your fingers in my mouth, fucker.
Right.
That was the first thing I thought, and that is an invitation to me to look at my own biases.
Exactly. And that's what happens is there's a lot of people in the States right now, a lot of Republicans that are losing their farms. And then there's a lot of Democrats that are, fuck you, you got this is what you voted for. And you know what? Nobody likes the guy that kicks the guy when he's down. Nobody. It doesn't matter what fucking side you're on. That's a shitty guy. If you're gonna do that, you're a shitty person, because you need to analyze your shit and come to the realization that, you know what? This is sad for them. There is a grief process from losing your farm and all your beliefs in one fucking day. Man, I don't want to be that person who's not sitting there going, I'm really fucking sorry, dude. I'm really sorry you're going through this. No matter what you fucking voted for.
Yeah.
Because well, I don't want this to take my humanity away.
And when we say humanity, I think what we mean is a sense of empathy.
Empathy.
Some sort of empathy. And I think of all the civil servants in the United States right now who don't have a job.
Right. And voted for Trump. You know, and like,
who may have,
but why are they any less for the people who voted for Kamala? Just because, like, it's not right or wrong anymore. It's you got duped, and there's got to be a grief to that. I know there's been a grief when I got duped.
That's a very interesting point. I hadn't thought about it that way.
You know, it's a
sense of betrayal.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot, and there's going to be more to come. So I think, you know what, the left side has to be the better one and be more empathetic. Be more empathetic and say, okay, now that you understand and you're on board, how do we change this? How do we change this and fix the problem?
Well, there is too many. I mean, even for a big thinker who wants to believe the best, who is at heart an optimist and believes in something greater than herself. I would not call myself agnostic or atheist. Yeah. But I would also no longer call myself Christian from the traditional Christian sense, right? So getting back to this whole notion of we've got all these problems, and Kendrick, okay, 180 degrees, let's go back and tie that together, because his performance, if you go and read the lyrics, and I encourage you to do so, you can see what he's saying about, and listen to some people who have dissected the entire performance, who know Kendrick's history, who know rap music, who understand the evolution of what we are now experiencing, also mostly from a Black perspective, right? Which is not one that I have.
Me neither.
It's amazing what this man, Kendrick Lamar, put together as a political statement. Yes, he dissed his rival, his musical opponent, so to speak, in the ring. But it was far bigger.
Far bigger. That just statement, first of all, is we get back to, because somebody answered it on our podcast they listened to last week, is that I said the revolution will not be televised was done by a poet, a black poet 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And this
1971.
Yeah, this guy is said to have revolutionized the beginning of hip hop or something, or rap anyway, through poetry. And here we are 40 years later, and
more than that, 50.
Yeah, and Kendrick Lamar is on a stage where millions are watching, and he has the opportunity to say it will be televised, and it's starting right now.
And he said, yeah, the revolution is being televised.
Will be televised. And so it was
the wrong guy.
Yeah, the right time, the wrong guy.
And because I'm not going to back down.
No, and I mean, he spent a fortune.
And you're going to hear about the history, not just me, because that was one layer of this. This was also history. That car, 1987, it was the year he was born. The jacket had the name of the first producer. I don't know. He had it specially made of all the, like, if you looked at every one of those patches,
yeah,
they
meant
mean
something.
They tell a story.
Yeah,
everything.
His
told
necklace.
A story. And why it stays, because most people have their own initials, why it's an A.
Yeah.
So it's also the story of the black people who, and the United States was built on the back of the blacks.
And unfortunately, there's a whole nation that just voted in a guy that wants to ignore that Black History Month even existed. And that's a shame, because it's rich. It's rich in history, and not just history, but culture that is adapted today with a lot of people. A lot of people still, a lot of black people still sit at their table and eat soul food and cook soul food together and do that because of, the way their culture became. And that
was another, I'm going to insert this here or I'll forget it. That's another layer to this, is the fact that this was the first time in history that the president was there.
Right.
Watching this.
Right. And
so
why?
Lamar was playing to that too.
Yeah. And why? Like so much more of your taxes were used to have that.
Time out. I'm back. We're back. I had a little coughing attack there and blew my nose, but it's all good now. I think what I want to say about all this, rather than a dissection, which you can go to YouTube and you will find all the information from knowledgeable people that you could ever want to know. What it has done for me, and what I hope those who found the performance ho-hum or even dismal, will be invited to take a look at a deeper level, in order to take a look at a deeper level at their own biases, not unlike what happened to me today.
Yeah.
This particular professional who is going to be putting his fingers in my mouth along with sharp objects and inserting fake teeth, which I've never had before, is someone, and I even, you know me, in this conversation, I said, I just looked at him as he's telling me about it, and when he also took his daughter to the Taylor Swift concert, and he said he dressed up and painted his nails and really went outlandish, like he was almost trans. For fun.
Love that.
And for fun. And now this is the second story I've heard from him, and the second picture. And he goes, you can tell a lot, like, how people react to you and stuff. He goes, but I had fun. And my daughter had fun. And he goes, that's the point of the journey, or something like that. That's what I came away with. And he goes, but I said, you're a contrarian. You like to poke the bear, don't you? And he looked at me like when intelligent people know they've been caught.
Yes. He's the guy that goes into the elevator and turns around instead of stays. Like he's and looks at everybody.
Just looks at everybody. That is exactly what I experienced here.
Yes.
And I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was invited to take a look at not this experience of going, oh, I've got you pegged. I
can I get to know you more?
I want to know you more.
Yeah.
I trust you now.
Yeah.
And I had to take a look at, but you went from when he told you
Yeah.
he wore a MAGA hat to,
Yeah.
he painted his nails or whatever, to go to the concert, which you see, that's okay with me. Going to a Swiftie concert's okay with me, right? You
Right.
didn't wear a MAGA hat.
Right. And well, you know,
So
it brings
I had
up
to
a
look
really
at that.
interesting point though, because there's been this trend on TikTok that straight men are wearing nail polish until Trump's out of office.
Seriously.
Yeah, because
Wow.
they're trying to get the message out there that we're not all trans and we're not all, fluid, but we don't give a shit if people are, because people are people.
Yeah. Well,
and that's
but
why
they
I
find
say
this threatening.
That's why I say that there is more good in the world than bad, because I don't know how it got done, but honest to God, I really do think somehow that election was rigged, because I just don't think there's that many who hate that much. And yes, I know there's such a large percentage that will come into understanding that they voted the wrong way, and there is already, that percentage. So I'm not saying it was necessarily rigged, but it was rigged where the people got duped.
I'm hooked on, tripping on the stone of wrong. That they made the wrong choice. I don't know that. None of us know that yet. And they made a choice that has propelled more dramatic, chaotic.
It's propelled chaos
on a national level that will have not only trickle down effect to local and municipal, but to global implications that I think are going to be, going to be like no different than what we just went through last weekend, where the weather forecast told us the conditions were prevalent to create not just snow, but massive snow.
Yeah.
And they were right.
Yeah.
And
we didn't move.
Plans.
We got everything we needed before it happened, and we didn't move for like 4 fucking days. We didn't move until these kids dug us out.
Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and they came on Monday and dug us out. But seriously, Saturday and Sunday, we just shook our head and watched it.
Yeah,
snow.
whatever.
So that's that. I get that, but that's the rockiness of the journey we're about to endure. It would help a lot if you're prepared.
Right.
Do you have,
and
I'm not talking physically. Do you have food in the refrigerator? I'm talking the emotional stock. Can you weather going? Okay, this is going to be rocky. We're gonna have to, instead of going, fuck, it's rocky. It shouldn't be. We made the wrong choice. We don't know that.
Here's what I think.
Maybe some shit does have to break.
Well, and
to be a contrarian,
and it's going to. It's going to. It has no choice. I mean, you've got RFK saying that he wants to take antidepressants and antipsychotics away. Right? Yeah. He shouldn't be saying anything. He should. But he wants to take antipsychotics and antidepressants away from people, saying it's a problem. Okay, I need people to understand this was one of Hitler's first moves. He took out his own weak people. He took out the disabled, the people who were mentally ill, and he fucking put them in places. There is rumors that there are houses for these people now, that they're just waiting for them to lose their shit once they do not get their meds. And I've heard people say, I'm one pill away from being a problem. And when you have people out there who are living functioning lives, and all of a sudden their meds are going to be gone and they're not going to be living functioning lives.
This is all extremist, and it hasn't happened yet. Now, that might be the very mentality that gets us into, like the frog in the boiling water, to a place where, my skin's cooked. I didn't get out in time. That's why I'm saying we
be aware.
Prepared for the storm.
Yes.
We are prepared as much as one can be. And even with my background, even with my accumulated knowledge on how to weather this kind of stuff on an emotional level, even I'm waking up going, maybe I need to, buy a survivalist handbook.
Right. No. But me too, because there is a sense of danger. Trump just signed yesterday that he took away his military for our protection. Well, I don't really see much of an issue with that, considering he's the only.
What are you talking about?
Well, he signed, like
for
that.
Whose protection?
American military protects Canada. Well, he's taken that away.
What?
Yes.
Where do they protect Canada?
Exactly.
Where?
Exactly. But here's the kicker. Who's going after us? You. You know what? You're taking away the protection of you going out. Okay, that doesn't make any fucking sense, but nothing you do at this point makes sense. You fire a bunch of fucking nuclear physicists and they know what they're doing, and now you can't get them because their emails have been like cut off, and you can't find these people.
Fired nuclear physicists.
Because these people know they're valuable and they can go any other fucking country and get a fucking job, you dumb dimwit. So what have you done? Like you put, so Elon Musk's little hackers are going to be able to go in there and take care of it? Come on, guys.
Social Security
like, they're going to, that's my point. Yes, it riles me up, and I don't get this riled up very often, just here because at home
she saves it up just
I
for
do.
you.
I do. But you know what? Here's the thing. I do agree with you. I do agree with you.
She saves it up.
In one fashion. And that's like this old, I'm not sure what native tribe it was, but there's this prophecy that all children from all races who will be called the Rainbow Tribe will come together and save this earth. I believe in that prophecy. And I believe that prophecy has to do with every single one of us. Not one race, all of us. Every single one of us have to be a part of that.
So that's what we're going to call this episode, the Rainbow Prophecy. And my hope is, long-winded way to get into it, is that it opens a discussion for Americans, for the world, obviously. But I am talking to the American population.
Well, I'm talking to the 12% of the Canadians who are still on board to be becoming a 51st state.
Oh, really? There are 12%?
Well, the states would like to say 50% of us, but that is not accurate. There's statistics say it's about 12 to 18%.
And they live in the woods with guns, and I mean.
Well, and even though most of them are not the hard. Most of them are, you just come to our border, fuck. We'll get you.
There are some good ones, I know, but there are some people who money and power is important. And that's what they seek.
Well, and you know what?
Money and power. And that's what Diddy did. Speaking of other, influential in the music industry got made. But he had the same thing. Money and power. It went to his head.
And
this just watched that documentary about him.
Right. But this is what I'm trying to say about like all system. I think it's a Hollywood system. I think it's a music. I think Josh Johnson said it best, that there is somebody out there who is your favorite artist, but because of made individuals from the industry, you don't get to find them because they're never given any play. And that's the shame of it. They're not promoted, and they're naturally fucking talented. Do you know there are people in this world who can listen to something and just play it on the fucking piano? That's not made. That's given by some kind of divine intervention, and that's different. And I truly believe that we need to access those people. Those are the indie people, man. The indie, that's where the real music lies, is in that. And Kendrick Lamar found a way to come out of into an industry from that and still win a Pulitzer.
And win a Pulitzer, man, for his album Damn. So I went back and I watched a video, an hour-long video, of a dissection of the album Damn. Now, for you, in case there are any intellectuals out there who, like me, are like, wait a minute, come on. With all this good literature out there, this rap guy gets a Pulitzer? What? Okay. So this guy writes his history. And I didn't review this right before I came down to record with you, so I might have some of the details wrong, but just get the overview here, get the idea. From his birth, and he comes out with, is it weakness or wickedness? Is it weakness or weakness? Like, am I a good guy, bad guy? And he ends up in a place, and everything is a set of opposites, evil and good, and light, dark, and all that. And he gets all the way, pride and humility, be humble, sit down, be humble, okay? And he gets all the way to the end, which is the most recent, whatever, in 2017, whichever the end of Damn was. And he has become the weakness, which is the person who loves anyway. And then there's the story of his dad. Did I tell this last week? I can't remember.
I don't know.
The story of his dad, who worked at a chicken place, whatever, McDonald's, something like that. And this guy, gangster, was going to come in and rob him, whatever. He kept coming in. And so his father, instead of like trying to get the cops, whatever, the story, I can't remember all the details, he gives him extra when he comes into the place. Gives him extra chicken, gives him extra fries, gives him extra, treats him well. And Kendrick's watching this going, you're rewarding the bad behavior. No, man. Some people, in essence, I'm paraphrasing here, look at that as weakness. It's not. Well, guess what? I just love shit like this.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so 20 years later, Kendrick's not a kid anymore. And the guy who was doing this ain't robbing nobody no more. He's now a top record executive with Top Dog Records, and Kendrick Lamar gets in there, and one thing leads to another, and it's like, that was you? Boom, you're hired. Like not hired, increase, but 20 years later, the same guy who...
It's kismet.
Yeah.
It's absolute kismet. So
here's the thing though, and I'll finish it and I'll stop because I get excited about this shit. Some brilliant person who knows his shit said, what if because there's all these places in the album where other artists' tracks are played backwards. Just little snippets. And they make a good beat, whatever, but they're tracks that are backwards. And there's enough of them that somebody figured out, goes, well, what if the whole point of this was the album's supposed to be listened to backwards? And so he does it. He breaks it down. And it takes you from weakness to wickedness, but redefines wickedness as, like...
amazing.
A good power.
Yeah.
And that's what he did on the stage.
Yeah.
He told the story of his tough upbringing in Compton, it doesn't get any worse, to the top of his profession by not backing down. I have my integrity. I did it with integrity, and you can't fake influence.
Right.
You can't fake that, and he's right.
He is right. And that's why when I'm Canadian,
Which is why I'm
not
saying, listen to the lyrics.
I'm not super proud of Drake because I don't think Drake is
being authentic.
I'm
not sure Drake
if you
knows
want
who
to,
he really
you want to
is,
ask me
other
about
than his star, his celebrity.
But you want to ask me about other Canadian music artists like Amanda Marshall. I think she's 100% Amanda Marshall, Canadian, authentic. Jan Arden, 100% authentic, 100% Jan Arden. Right, there's
Bryan Adams. There's a bunch of them.
And there are some made ones. I mean, let's face it, in the early career of Alanis Morissette, she was made. She was a kid that started singing when she was about 16.
Avril Lavigne, too.
Yeah, Avril Lavigne. But they both
got out.
They played the game like Lady Gaga. They stayed in long enough to get what they needed and get what they wanted to be able to make their own choices. And now they do.
Taylor, too.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, here we have gone from Kendrick. Well, this is not actually that far away. We're talking music industry.
No, yeah.
It's an industry, it's a business, and it's been corrupt. And has everything. Everything has been corrupted. And I think at some level, and there are those, and the only reason I even think this is that I've heard this from other well-informed, highly educated or articulate people who have said, maybe this is exactly what needs to happen. It's just, we chose the way it would happen, which is kind of more painful. I'm getting a fucking implant. Why is that happening? Well, I got some bone loss, and I probably haven't taken as good a care of my teeth as I was supposed to, 40 years ago.
Right.
Shit catches up with you.
Yeah.
No different than here. And the shit is catching up with the United States of America. Shit is catching up with everybody. Canada's going to go through an election. Mm-hmm. France is going through an election. Germany. The world is waking up. it's not pleasant.
No.
And, sometimes I had this great set of dreams last night.
Huh.
And I'll tell you later. I mean, none of them are significant, but I remember what I was wearing in one of them. And then I had to go to the bathroom. I got up and went to the bathroom. I went back and I remembered this wisp of the dream, but then I couldn't get back there, right? It's the same thing here. We're waking up from this dream of the way things were. They're never going back there. What we're going to do is create something new and different.
Yeah.
And it's getting from where we are now to where we want to go, and of course has peace and unity and love thy neighbor and all that good stuff.
That's going to be painful, though.
That's
the
going
journey.
to be painful. And so I saw this meme, and maybe this is a good place to end. Saw this one, frame kind of thing of it was actually a teacher on a video. That's right. She said, "What we're experiencing right now," she goes, the notion of resilience. What does it feel like now? Having co-authored a best-selling book on resilience called Resilience. It's not about bouncing back, okay? The theory being that if you bounce back to where you were, you're behind everybody else in this speed of light game that we're living, this life that goes faster than the speed of light, right? And it's like, what happened when? That was only an hour ago, and it's all the way around the world. What was I doing? I've gone off on a rant.
I think that our systems are breaking down, and it's necessary for us to be aware of them, because it's not going to be, some are going to affect us, some aren't.
And some are going to be, like, oh, that happened and I didn't even know about it.
Right.
And some are going to be like, you didn't know? My God, our entire lives are changed. The pandemic hit everybody in some ways very similarly. And in some ways, completely uniquely our own personal experience, right? It's going to be the same thing, but this change. Anyway, where I was the meme.
Right.
The meme of this woman. She goes, and how does resilience feel? It's not about bouncing back. That's what it was. And one student stood up and said, I don't know what to call it when I'm there. I only know that at the end of it, I feel better. And the teacher comes back and says, what you're feeling is what I like to call the learning space. And then she draws on the board the words knowing on one side, and over here, 2 feet, unknowing. And then she draws a line. She goes, we in our society are paid to know shit. We're supposed to know shit, okay? And to say you don't know something is to admit a weakness, and we don't live in that kind of a world, right? Not yet, anyway. So this is one of the things I'd like to acknowledge that would change. But that knowing is supposed to be, go from unknowing to knowing. It's a straight line. It's never like that. And then she goes this crazy ass wiggly line. She goes, and then you finally find out what it is. And it is the space between the unknowing and the knowing that is the learning space. And there's only one feeling word to describe that space. Frustration. Do you know how many times I've heard that used by every client I've ever had? Frustration. I'm really frustrated with so-and-so. I'm frustrated with this situation. I'm frustrated with whatever. So that was very helpful. And that's what I think the United States and the world is going through to some degree or another. Remember, it's universal, but it's also uniquely personal. Is that's learning space. Yeah. Between unknowing, we don't know what the fuck is going to happen or how it's going to affect us all, and knowing, this happened. We kind of have that on the pandemic a little bit now, taking a look at the longer ramifications. Anyway, I've gotten off onto the pandemic. Yeah. So.
No, I'm ready for the good news story.
Go for it.
Okay, so this happened a couple of days ago, and I showed it to you yesterday, and I just thought it was fucking wonderful and sort of on track of what we've been talking about. So in Tennessee, I think it was Knoxville, Tennessee, all over the United States, I might say, there has been protests all over in like every major city, and it's not being televised by the media. It is being televised on social media. And that's where I implore you to go look it up, because it is happening. And as it was happening in Knoxville, Tennessee, the National Guard was brought out. And it was a peaceful protest, but they were still brought out and they had their shields. And during the protest.
So it was a power move by some political And Tennessee is a Republican
Yes,
state.
yes. But this National Guard, this group of National Guards, put their shields behind them and laid them down and stood with the protesters. And it was a beautiful thing. So
That's kind of cool.
It was a really cool thing. So, hold the faith, because like I said, I really do believe there's a lot more good out there than there is bad. And even Republicans will come to the other side.
And some Democrats who are radical left. I mean, I
settle your shit down, man. Settle your shit down.
The need to acknowledge that extremists exist at both ends of the spectrum, no matter which side you stand on.
Yeah.
And so some people,
and
it just depend on where you stand as to who's the radical.
I get it, because I just posted a picture the other day of the Iranian parliament.
Do they have a parliament?
In 1970, and they were like a lot of women,
and they're gone now.
They're gone now.
Yeah,
so it's I do get and understand that it's something we have to protect.
If the universe is constantly expanding, which means that if you will, the light gets lighter and the dark gets darker and the big gets bigger and the smaller gets smaller, whatever. I don't know, all these, spectrums that keep pulling apart like taffy. If that's what's really going on, then we're going to have that.
Yeah.
We're going to end up having that expression at both ends, which is unfortunate. So that's why finding our own place in the middle, wherever that is, but owning it is part of the prep, coming full circle here, owning where you are. Hopefully it's not in a place of tremendous fear, because that actually counteracts the fear.
It does.
And you find that place of protection in the midst of this turbulent water that we're in right now.
Yeah, I do agree with that 100%. All right, everybody.
National Guard.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.